my husband, Rabbi Jethro Berkman, has been playing for us the melody that goes with a couple of lines from Psalm 122. The words of that psalm are Yehi Shalom Bechelech, Shalva Be'armenotayich. May there be peace within your walls, within your palaces. So I thought that would be an appropriate psalm, an appropriate sentiment to start with this evening. And though we don't have the words in our prayer book, and again, I want to remind you that you can find our prayer book online in our newsletter or on the website. And I will announce page numbers as we go. But whether you're joining us with a prayer book or simply with your voice and your presence without the book, I'm so glad you're here. I feel like we really need Shabbat this week, perhaps more than most weeks. And again, I thought that this would be an appropriate way to begin this evening with the words of Psalm 122. And I'm going to invite you to join us. You can hum along or just sing a wordless melody. I will sing the words. I'm sorry they're not in your prayer book, but you can always access them by looking up Psalm 122 or Yehi Shalom Bechelech, and we're going to sing it with you to begin our service this evening and to give people a chance to gather. As I always say, I'd like to invite you to take some really full deep breaths and some complete exhales as you're gathering into this sacred Shabbat space that we together are creating this evening, no less sacred than when we gather in person. Yehi Shalom Bechelech Shalva Be'armenotayich. Yehi Shalom Bechelech Shalva within your homes. May there be tranquility within your walls. This Shabbat, may we all drink from the well of tranquility, from the well of the world as it should be and as we must make it, to strengthen us for the work ahead to make it so. So we are going to welcome to those who have continued to come in to our virtual sanctuary, our Mishkan. Again, I'd like to invite you to take some deep breaths. Invite you throughout our service, whether you're familiar or not, to feel that you are an active participant, that you are able to bring your full spirit to these words and these melodies. I'm going to light the candles and officially welcome in this sacred, holy pause. If you're joining along at home, feel free to light candles as well. And I'm realizing my candles are out of the frame. So I'm going to...
They're in the frame.
Oh, they're in the frame.
I'm looking at it.
I can't tell in my computer. lights remind us that the world as it is not the world as it must be or will be. May it remind us of the power we have to transform ourselves and our world. I invite you to bring in 3 beloveds, 3 people that you love, that you miss, whether they still inhabit this earthly realm or not. Bring them into your heart this Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu להדליק נר של Shabbat Shalom. Let's welcome the angels of Shabbat, the messengers of peace, with Shalom Aleichem in the prayer book. It's on page 24. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Rabbi Jethro Berkman for not only his beautiful guitar playing, but his ability to harmonize. And of course, we miss you, Andy O'Connell. We're going to go to Psalm 96 now and sing out the wonders of creation. Here too, we're on page 13, but feel free to join in with the words, without the words, with clapping, however you feel comfortable. Oh D. We'll sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, and we'll be on pages 20 and 21. When we get to the last verse, we'll rise and face the entrance of our homes and bow to symbolically welcome that sacred, beloved presence. We'll sing it to Hallelujah this week again. Lecha dodi likrat kala enei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala settle into you, settle into your body, into your soul, into your heart. Going to chant our Magadlu round of awe and wonder. We're at the top of page 342. I'm going to look on in the Facebook comments if you want to share something that gave you a sense of awe or wonder this week. And I acknowledge that in this week in particular, we have been bowled over by what is happening in our nation. And I'd like us to just take a moment to replenish ourselves by remembering the awe that we might have found in other people, in acts of kindness, in the natural world. So I'm going to keep an eye on the Facebook chat to see what's coming up. Feel free to say it aloud or to somebody you're watching with as well. If you'd like to put it into the Facebook chat, you can do that as well. And just hold that within you as we chant. You can choose whether you're going to chant Hallelujah or Magadlu Ma'asechaya Me'od Amku Machshavotecha. Hallelujah, 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 Hallelujah. At the simple sound of rain. I have to admit that I first read that as one of our rabbis' interest and curiosity at the simple sound of rain, and I was going to be very touched because I am interested and curious about rain. Karen, police kneeling with protesters. Nathan, you've been seeing skunks. They're coming up and feeling safe to be among us. That is incredible. The lovely flowers that are blooming. Nature does not pay attention to the ugliness going on. Splendor along the muddy river, seeing law enforcement peacefully embracing and supporting protesters. What a blessing simply to press pause and to remember the moments that we are so privileged to witness in our world, not moments of horror, but moments of wonder. On Shabbat, we have to dig deep and find those moments, remind ourselves of those moments. Use those moments to give ourselves that extra soul that our sages taught that we receive on Shabbat. We need it to fill ourselves up for the work of the ordinary time after Shabbat. I'm going to turn now to Chatzi Kaddish on page 26, transitioning to the Ma'ariv service. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה ויעמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קורי ויאמרו Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach Le'alam Ulam Me'almaya Yitbarach Ve'yishtabach ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ויאמרו Amen. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit for the Baruch Hu, the call to prayer on page 28. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed. Page 30. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה אדוני צבאות שמו אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים. Going to sing this beautiful blessing to prepare us to recite the Shema. We're on page 32. Ahavat olam beit Yisrael amcha ahavta. The everlasting love you offered your people Israel. And that gift of that everlasting love was Torah, which we received just less than a week ago, or just over a week ago on Shavuot. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Hashem kevod malchuto leolam va'ed. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בעם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת. We'll sing the ancient words of our ancestors, Michamocha, on page 38. Sorry, page 40. I'm going to sing this to a tune we did a couple of weeks ago. One of my favorite tunes. And hopefully you'll join with us. We go to our blessing for lying down at night, recognizing we are vulnerable. We hope, we pray that we will be redeemed from whatever it is that constricts us or what frightens us. But all we can do is hope. We can pray that we lie down in peace, that we rise up to life again. We'll sing Hashkivenu, which is following the book on page 42. Hashkivenu Adonai ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל, ועל ירושלים. Join for the Amidah, our standing prayer, beginning on page 46. Do the first 3 blessings aloud, and then have time for our own individual prayer. And then we'll join back together with Ohabei Shalom with our prayer for peace. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chaste Avot Ve'imahot, Umevii Geula Lifnei V'nehem, Leman Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Ata Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah. Ata Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Ata Rav Lehoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Baal Givurot, Umidomelach Melech Memid, Umechaye Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman ata l'chayot hakol, Baruch ata Adonai mechayei hakol. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha selah. Baruch ata Adonai ha'el hakadosh. We can take some quiet moments individually for our own prayer. silent prayer. Ohabei Shalom Shalom to share some words of Torah with you, and then we're going to sing our prayer for healing after that. I'm going to switch it up a little bit this evening. So, just one moment. Hineni. Here I am. Hineni is the word spoken in Torah, which means I am ready to do your bidding. It is a contraction of the word hine, here, and ani, I. Abraham answers God with this word, and Moses answers God with this word. The word hineni actually appears 178 times in the Hebrew Bible. Frequently in response to God, but sometimes between people as well. In the 5 books of the Torah, the word appears 8 times, and each one of those signifies a crucial turning point requiring a response that goes beyond the surface, a depth of presence and attention. It is a response to a call, a divine call, even if it comes from another human being, a response to an imperative. Hineni, or hineni, is also the prayer sung by the chazan, or the cantor, and I sing it at our services at the beginning of the service on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, indicating that person's readiness, fully attentive, ready to enact this great responsibility. And the prayer expresses above all humility at the gravity of the task of representing the congregation, and it also represents a bit of trepidation on the part of the service leader as well, with the gravity of the High Holy Days and representing the community. I speak to you this evening after a week of rage, violence, grief, and pain for our nation, with much humility and trepidation. What can I say that has not already been said? Our cities are burning. People are burning, with rage or with hate or with grief or despair. While some among us may have been very active this week and before that in organizing or participating in protests or other acts of solidarity with the Black community following the unspeakable act of violence against George Floyd, which is only one of dozens of such murders in our nation in recent years, others of us are consumed with the ongoing everyday struggle with the pandemic and its many effects on our lives, our families, our finances, while we continue to care for our loved ones and ourselves and do our jobs and everything else we must do to manage our lives. Perhaps this week we've received many messages from organizations and institutions, including our own, to which we are connected, expressing solidarity and outrage at police brutality against people of color and resolving to act. It is easy enough to pay attention in this moment in small or relatively passive ways. We can scroll through social media, click and share articles or resources. And those of us with enough privilege to be able to retreat into a cocoon of relative comfort and shut out the societal collapse all around us, even just for a bit, and the terrifying violations of our constitutional rights, everything that is happening all around us, those of us who can retreat even for a bit in some way experience the dissonance of knowing what is happening, while perhaps we're just watching a comedy on Netflix or eating ice cream or simply playing with our children. And perhaps we feel guilty. And I want to name that you don't need to feel guilty. And I'm going to explain why. I want to talk to you tonight about how to understand being Jewish as essentially living in response to a call to attention. But how we respond does not look the same for each of us. You all know that the foundation of our tradition is that we must care for others. Rabbi Hillel, the Talmudic sage who lived in the 1st century before the Common Era, said it best, on one foot, "What is hateful to you, do not do unto others. All the rest is commentary." Again and again, our tradition calls us to care for the other, the one not like us, the one we are not naturally, necessarily inclined to treat with kindness or even justice. That is why the word ger, the stranger, the foreigner, is stated in Torah 36 times. Pay attention, Torah calls us. Tend to the other, the one unlike myself, the one whose suffering or flourishing does not necessarily directly impact me in any way that I can see. An expanded circle of concern which goes beyond the self and one's immediate family and property is emphasized repeatedly. I want to say here that when I speak about Black people or people of color, I know that some are part of our Jewish community as well. At least 12% of American Jews are Jews of color, according to a recent poll. I want you to know that I see you, I hear you, I include you, and I understand that Jewish solidarity with the cause of the Black Lives Matter movement does not mean that there is not overlap between our communities. Again and again, Torah tells us to pay attention. Torah is also shockingly realistic about human nature and the fact that this doesn't necessarily come naturally. It takes work. It makes us uncomfortable. But our responsibility is to respond to the call to do so. In fact, our tradition was born with a response to a call. Lech lecha, go out, go beyond your comfort zone and be a blessing. Create blessing for this world, God tells Avram, who becomes Avraham, the first Jew. In a midrash about why God called out to Abraham, we learn that it is ultimately because Abraham called out to God. Arguably, the Jewish faith is not faith in God so much as faith in God's faith in us. Faith that when we are called to respond, we will. We will pay attention. We will say, Hineni. This week, I learned from one of my first and kindest and most brilliant teachers of Judaism, Rav Daniel Landis in Jerusalem. He wrote that the Hebrew word emunah, usually translated as faith, is better understood as to hold fast. Faith is not a passive mode that says, God will provide, or Yihyeh Tov, it will be all right. Faith, rather, is the empowerment by God to respond to the command of do good, act with integrity. So the birth of our beloved Jewish tradition came with a call to Avram. God called out to him, Lech lecha me'artzecha u'mimoladetcha u'mivet avicha el haaretz asher areka. Go forth from your land, from your birthplace, and from your father's house to the land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. Go forth out of all that is familiar and comfortable, and you shall be a blessing. This is a call not to blind obedience, not to passive obedience. It's a call to action. You shall be a blessing. How? By continuing to respond to a call that comes from beyond the self. So there's this midrash on Lech Lecha. In this midrash, God says to Avram, go forth from your land, as I just quoted. And Rabbi Yitzchak said, this may be compared to a man who was traveling from place to place when he saw a burning castle. He said, is it possible that this castle lacks a person to look after it? The owner of the building looked out and said, I am the owner of the castle. Similarly, because Abraham our father said, is it possible that this castle has no master, no one to look after it? The Holy One, blessed be he, looked out and said to him, I am the master of the universe. Hence God said to Abraham, Lech Lecha. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs interprets this midrash thus. Note that the owner of the palace does not make an attempt to get out of the burning building or to extinguish the flames. He is merely stating that he is the owner of the palace that is going up in smoke. It is as if instead of racing out, the owner were calling for help. God made the palace, man set it on fire, and only man can put out the flames. Abraham asks God, where are you? God replies, I am here, where are you? Man asks God, why did you abandon the world? God asks man, why did you abandon me? To respond to God is to respond to the other, to each other who is created in the image of God. We know from Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, and we can't really quote this enough. And God created man in his image, in the image of God he created them. Out of this comes a rabbinic teaching that when a person makes their way in the world, angels walk before them and proclaim, make way for an icon of the Blessed Holy One. Writes my friend and colleague, Rabbi Shai Held, imagine really taking this to heart. Every human being everywhere, regardless of race, gender, or sexual orientation, is a king or queen, a visual representation of God. George Floyd, who died with a police officer's knee on his neck after close to 9 minutes, was a king. Angels walked before him to affirm and protect his honor, and now he lies dead for no remotely justifiable reason. Faced with such a scene, Rabbi Held goes on to write, we can well imagine what the God of Genesis might say. Addressing Cain, human history's first murderer, God thunders in Genesis 4:10, what have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Elie Wiesel, Zichrono Livracha, in a commencement address at Washington University in St. Louis in 2011, said, I believe that the human being, any human being, of any community, any origin, any color, a human being is eternal, he said. Any human being is a challenge. Any human being is worthy of my attention. Because of this foundational truth, according to the medieval sage Rabbi Abraham ibn Ezra, one who witnesses an act of oppression and remains silent is morally equivalent to the one who commits the act in the first place. Rather than few are guilty but all are responsible, the words of Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, this goes further, making us all guilty if we are not an upstander, to use the language my kids learn in school. There is no such thing as being an innocent bystander. The purpose of the human being, according to Jewish tradition, is to respond to the divine call. But the divine call comes through in the cries of our fellow humans who are suffering. When George Floyd said, "I can't breathe," that was not just a plea for the officer to take his knee off of his neck. We must also understand this as a call to each of us to respond with word and deed to every act of injustice we witness in this burning world. The castle which Avram saw on fire responded to and became Avraham, the first Jew. The only true response is Hineni. I am here, I am ready to do my part. What part of this sanctuary, this Mishkan, this place where God can dwell, as the Kutzker Rebbe said, where does God dwell? God dwells where we let God in. Which part of us, what do we each uniquely have in order to let God in order to build that Mishkan, that dwelling place for God? Some of us may be called to join a protest and put our bodies on the line. I saw a video the other day of a white teenage girl standing between a black teenage boy who had his hands up and police who were coming forward with force. Some of us may be called to educate. Some of us may be called to heal bodies, some to heal souls, some to make art out of this moment. Whatever it is that is uniquely ours to offer to this task of building a world that is a world of chesed and tzedek, of goodness, compassion, and justice, we must live our lives in response to the divine call, the one that may not come from an unseen voice or a burning bush, as it did for Abraham and for Moses, but from our fellow human being. Use your voice. Be loud, but first I want to ask you to be quiet and discern what is uniquely your task. Maybe Shabbat can give you that space. As Rabbi Jonathan Sachs writes, there is no life without a task, no person without a talent, no place without a fragment of God's light waiting to be discovered and redeemed, no situation without its possibility of sanctification, no movement without its call. It may take a lifetime to learn how to find these things, but once we learn, we realize in retrospect that all it ever took was the ability to listen. And I'm reminded, of course, what is the only thing that is a creed in our faith? What is the one statement that we repeat, that we say, we are supposed to say as our dying words, and that we say every day? Shema, listen. When God calls, God does not do so by way of universal imperatives, Sachs goes on to write. Instead, God whispers our name. And the greatest reply, the reply of Abraham, is simply, Hineni. Here I am, ready to heed your call to mend a fragment of your all too broken world. What a blessing that we can find our voices and mend our world and be a blessing together in community and connected to this ancient tradition of wisdom and truth. May we know peace this Shabbat, and may we bring that peace out into the world in whatever way we must respond to the call. Shabbat Shalom. Knowing that we absolutely must pray for healing, there are so many people for whom we pray this evening. Of course, those who are suffering in spirit or body due to this global pandemic, and also those who are deeply suffering out of racial injustice or who have suffered because of the response, because of riots, looting, those who have been hurt, those who have had their livelihoods destroyed. We hurt with and for all of them. We pray for all of them. I ask that if you are remembering somebody for healing this evening, healing of body or healing of spirit, you can either say it aloud in your own space or type it in. If you're watching through Facebook, you can type it into the page 253 in our prayer book. To mention these names from our community for whom we're praying this evening. Linda Hoffman, Elena Kazarovsky, Susan Lieberman, Ira Chauvel, Harvey Solomon, Chaim Meir Ben Shlomo V'Chanalea, and those names that you have mentioned, Claire Rofino, Joni Levine. We hold those individuals and so many more within us this evening, and we pray that they know wholeness and healing of body and of spirit. Going to move toward concluding our service with Aleinu on page 282 in our book, and Aleinu is all about responsibility. Aleinu means literally it is on us, it is upon us. So much is upon us. We are heavy with the weight of it. But it is the only response to this great gift of life that calls out to us to heal this world. So I invite you to rise if you're able. Aleinu leshabeach la'adon hakol, la'tzet gedula liyotzer bereshit, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגופי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. 287. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo May we come to know a day when all beings know that they are one, when all human beings understand our mutual interdependence and understand that the divine call comes from our fellow human beings. So we're going to move into Mourner's Kaddish now. We'll remember those we have loved who are no longer with us in this world, and I'll give you a moment to share the name aloud in your own space or in the Facebook in the Facebook comments. We wish continued comfort to the Spritz family as Neil Spritz, the father of Nathan Spritz, passed away recently. We wish Nancy, Nathan, Ben, and Zeke much continued comfort. If you are observing a yard site or in a period of mourning, feel free to, as I said, just say the name in your own space. Joanna, you're remembering your father, Edward Baker. And Neil Spritz, as I mentioned, Nathan is here remembering his dad. May all those we're holding in our hearts as we recite Mourner's Kaddish be a blessing for us. May we honor their memory in our words and in our deeds. Mourner's Kaddish is on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael v'agala u'v'zman kori v'imru.
Amen.
Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lamei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitale v'yithalal shmei d'kudesha
B'rechu.
Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma ve'imru. Amen. Yehi shlam Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael ve'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael ve'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru. Imru. Amen. Ya'aseh shalom. Ya'aseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom. Ya'aseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Just going to share a couple of announcements before we make Kiddush and Motzi and conclude with Olam Chesed Yibaneh. Tomorrow morning will be a Torah study led by Rabbi Schaefer and our intern, our lifelong learning intern, Ryan Lesner. Tomorrow is Ryan's last day with our community, so please come and wish him well as he moves on to other work as in his rabbinate and as a rabbinical student. And there's so much going on. I'm trying to think of what else I need to announce. We have a new series that is going to be starting. I'm going to just flag this for you so you maybe can save the date if you're interested. I'm going to be leading a discussion group and an exploration of poetry, music, spiritual texts that are resonant for our time and that can help fortify us and give us the strength to meet the challenges of this moment. It's inspired by one of my very favorite podcasts and organizations called On Being. If you don't listen to the On Being podcast, you should. And its host is named Krista Tippett, and she's a really wise, wonderful thinker who is bringing all sorts of resources for this moment into her interviews, her podcasts, and also on the website onbeing.org. There are lots of wonderful resources that she calls spiritual care package for our times. So in that vein, I will be leading a discussion, and it is going to be on Wednesdays, every other Wednesday, from 12 to 1 p.m. It will be on Zoom. The information will be coming out, and you'll be receiving some resource, whether it's a podcast, a poem, a text, a piece of music. I will be sending it out in advance for everyone to think about before we come together for those sessions. So it will be sent out the week before. So again, our first session is Wednesday, June 17th. I'll be teaching that day in honor of my father's yard site, which is June 17th, and then every other Wednesday after that from 12 to 1. Please join us. All are welcome. I'm sure there are many other announcements. I know our Social Action Committee has sent out a newsletter today. If you're interested in our social action initiatives but do not receive the newsletter, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll connect you or to Rabbi Schaefer. Okay, I think we're ready for Kiddush and Motzi. If you're joining along at home, maybe you're not quite ready for dinner. This week, I'm proud to say, we really do have a real challah. And when you make Kiddush, here you go. Thank you again to Rabbi Jethro Berkman. I should have said that in the announcements earlier. Really great to have this built-in support during these weeks of not being in the building and together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho b'yahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron le'maaseh v'reshit ki hu yom techila למקראי קודש, זכר לציית מצרים, כי באנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון, הנחלתנו ברוך Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen.
Tommy, would you like to make motzi? No. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lecha min haaretz. Amen. Okay. We're going to sing Olam Chesed Yibaneh. If you're not familiar with it, it comes from another psalm, Psalm 89. And we're going to sing, I will build this world from love, and you must build this world from love. And if we build this world from love, then God will build this world from love. These words of Olam Chesed Yibaneh was set to music by Rabbi Menachem Krediger. Even if you're just singing a wordless melody, join your voice with us. Olam chesed yibaneh, yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai. Olam chesed yibaneh, Shabbat Shalom. So good to be together. I can't wait till we can be together in person. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.